We got Joe in here. How we doing, Coach? Sorry, you didn't have the headset on. How we doing, Coach?
Doing outstanding.
Good.
How you guys doing?
We're doing great. This is a little bit different for you. Not the combine per se, but your role in it as it applies to things. So I guess we should start by asking you, because you're a little over a month on the job. What part of the head coaching position has demanded the most of your time over the past month to 6 weeks, would you say? You had to pick something at the top that's gobbled up the majority of your time. What would it be?
Look, I think the biggest thing was the staff. It was right. They set the standard, and they're going to be the ones that are with the players, and just making sure that the different personalities and what we're looking for in each type of coach and building it. Like, I felt like I was an agent the first two and a half weeks. Like,
recruiting.
I'm not on my phone. I'm rarely on my phone, and that was one of those times where there wasn't a moment I wasn't on my phone.
Yeah.
And you're talking to a bunch of different people, right? Because, hey, when this guy's on, it's like, all right, well, we got this personality, this type of coach. I can't get another one that's just like this. So you're trying to balance in that, and
mix and match. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, I wanted. Don't get me wrong. I wanted great football coaches, but that was the thing that took the most time. I'm excited for how it turned out.
I think most people are shocked or a little bit surprised about how big a coaching staff in the NFL is. I mean, you got to find a lot of guys, right? And they all have roles to play. And I sat in, decades ago, I sat in a wide receiver room with a couple of Hall of Fame guys and some great players and a Hall of Fame coach at one point as well. You got Drew Terrell to help come in for the wide receiver. What were you, and it's a room that always gets a lot of conversation because they got Josh as their quarterback, and there's a lot of expectations and a lot of conversation about him. What did you give me an insight? Give us an insight as to your conversations with Drew Terrell, your new wide receivers coach, what you expect of him, what he expected, and some of the stuff he told you coming in.
Yeah, well, first, you're going through the whole process, and you talk with a lot of coaches. This was before even being the head football coach here.
Right.
You're trying to get a feel like, hey, who are some guys that you own other staffs? When you're watching other teams play, you see how, a defensive back group works, and you're like, oh, you know what? Who's Jim Leonard? Those type of things. Well, a lot of people were bringing up Drew to me. And I talked with Drew the first time. He wanted to coach quarterbacks. Like, he's a guy at Stanford, extremely bright, and he's been in the QB room. But there's something so valuable about a guy that coaches wide receivers, but they also can teach them from a quarterback's perspective.
Right.
And when I talked with him, and I'm understanding that he wants to ultimately coach quarterbacks, and he wants to call plays, and he has aspirations. But I remember I called him right after, and I said, hey, look, man, I want you on the staff. I know, and and we have a vision for him and the way that he thinks and his mindset, his personality. I was so fired up to get him. And when I was talking with him, it was more of a quarterback interview. And when I got off the phone, I was like, I just need you on the staff, and he's going to do a great job.
Because I can see, you get Pete Carmichael coming in, and Pete's been around for a minute, more than a minute, right? He's
Few minutes.
Yeah, right. So there is places to see where when your staff comes in, if you can be successful, particularly with the players you've got, guys like, Drew Terrell come in and say, you know what, when guys start getting clipped off this staff or guys start to leave, I got a chance to move around on the offensive side of the ball and get some different responsibilities, right?
Yeah, and that was a big selling point to a lot is like, look, we haven't done anything here, right? We have to go have success. We have to go do things, but you want this to be a place that coaches want to come and work. That's how I felt.
Right.
And you want guys, part of this offense specifically with Drew's case that. You get to see how a great quarterback like Josh approaches and works, and us being able to put together a system around our players. And, and I thought that that's why it was so important for me to not just hire, obviously Pete Carmichael I had been with, but I hadn't been with Bo, hadn't been with Drew, with guys that I didn't know, and so that they're able to bring new input. And then they can see kind of how our offense kind of looks, and I think it's going to elevate our offense.
Coach, how would you describe the conversations you've had thus far with the personnel department in the early stages of this pre-draft process? Do you have player types, or do you just tell them, get us good football players, we'll figure out the rest?
Yes, we have prototypes. If you told me, like, hey, give me this. If you told us we can have Thurman Thomas and Bruce Smith and Andre, you tell me.
We'll take that.
I'll take that all the time. But I understand that there's a lot that comes into putting together a roster, and but I think the big component I wanted out of our coaching staff is we're also going to take what we're given and build a system around that. And so we want the best football players that we can get. And our systems might look different year to year, and there's some little tweaks, but it's not going to be offense or defense. This is what we're doing no matter what we have. And so through personnel, we've kind of got through and gone with all the coaches, with all the scouts, pro and college. This is what we're ideally looking for, but don't eliminate anybody. Don't be like, hey, this guy might be an undersized, wide receiver, but cool, but he might be really elite in this one trait. Well, we're going to ask him to do that. So let us get to the process. We collaborate, and we'll be able to build our team, with that mentality.
So you started this off season, and now I don't know if you did it before, but now as a head coach, you're sitting in on defensive meetings. How big an upheaval are we looking at on that side of the ball?
Well, I think a lot of it is NFL football is very similar, system to system, but there's a different type of mindset. There's a different type of, should I say, versatility that we'll play with next year. I think the big thing about Jim is, I know you guys had a little opportunity to speak with him, is he's extremely bright. He's open to so many different ideas. He studies a lot of football, and he's been around a lot of football, being with Rex and Mike Pettin all them years that he's seen a lot. He knows there's not only one way to do it. Mm-hmm. And so what's been so cool is sitting in with him, going through all the defensive players on our roster and seeing them, how they were utilized, and is like, okay, can this guy fit in this particular role? Hey, what's some ways that we can do this? Because it then allows Bean to kind of build around that. And, man, we have a lot of guys on our defense that fits the vision that we ultimately want to be already. So it's not hey, we have to scrap everything and start over, even with our personnel. We have a lot of guys already on this roster that can do a lot of the things we're going to ask people to do.
You've obviously taken part in pre-draft interviews here at the Combine before. Sometimes the coordinators are left to take on the more active Q&A role. Now in the head coaching role, are you just going to be more of a fly on the wall, or do you think you'll insert yourself in part of that Q&A discussion and maybe take a lead role with certain prospects?
I want our coaches, just like in the game planning process, I want our coaches, I'm not a micromanager. There's a reason they're there, and allow them to do it. But there is some things that I think is really important, questions that I try to ask that maybe they're not necessarily rehearsed on, or things that I think is important to me that might not strictly be for their specific position. And so I don't want to overtake the formals, but it is important that I'm involved. They're hearing me, and I get some of my questions.
Some of the overarching kind of deals.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah. I like you kind of get a pick up on how much I want football players. At the end of the day, right? Just give me guys that love football.
Yeah, how do you slice through all the coaching these guys have been through about how to handle these interviews? And that's where you kind of come up with questions that nobody knows about, right? That they can't prepare for.
Yeah.
It's hard to do. And let's face it, these guys are in a job interview. They're trying to put their best foot forward. So whatever red flags that you may see, they're trying to paint them black, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they want to. So how do you get by that and get through the veneer of these guys being on their best behavior?
Well, I think it's tough, right? You got 20 minutes, and the reality of it is, and that's not to diminish the importance of it, but you got to be mindful of what are you trying to get out of these 20 minutes, right? And I think a lot of guys are hoping that their 20 minutes are going to be strictly about maybe their background, where they're rehearsed on it. Where I think it's a better process to let's talk football. I want to put on a play of yours and see if I can just put on the still view and what happened on that play. And how much do you remember from your season? Let's talk through some play. Let's talk football, and not, hey, let's get you on the board and you rehearse your favorite third down play that you've been rehearsing for the last few weeks. Yeah. Some guys will draw a play, and I'd be like, hey, did we see that in the season? They're like, no. I'm like, that was your favorite play, So I think that's the biggest thing right now is let's just get guys that talk ball, think about ball, and at least from my perspective.
Right.
Coach, thanks for the time.
Appreciate it.
Good luck getting your work done here this week. We had a person you might know, Chase Daniel, on the show a couple of weeks back, and he was talking Pete Carmichael and everything. And he might, I'm not saying he's blowing the cover off anything, but he's like, guys, they're going to throw the ball a ton. He's all fired up. He was out of control.
I love it.
He's
love
unbelievable.
Chase.
He couldn't stop talking about
incredible.
you guys and the scheme that they ran down there. He's really excited about what he thinks you guys can do. So we're all looking forward to it. I know it's going to come up fast for you. So we'll let you get to work because I know you got a lot on your plate here between now and OTAs alone.
Here we go.
Appreciate the time.
I love it. Thank you, guys.
Good luck
Thanks,
this
Joe.
week, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Always
you,
good to
guys.
see
Have
you.
a great
Thanks for the
week.
time as always.